I must tell you, you mentioned that I had advised the Prime Minister of Namibia, but after that he lost the elections. And I also advised the Chief Minister of Delhi, and after that she died. So you can imagine how powerful my advice is, right? So I'm not too sure you should take my advice. Okay, anyway. So I'm a so first of all, I must say that I'm very impressed by what you people have done at iHub. And I can imagine this happening in Gujarat, because that's probably one of the foremost, when you come to starting up businesses, that's probably one of the foremost states, if not the foremost in India. And by the way, we also have a branch in Ahmedabad from Lead Angels, because we realize that a lot of the action is right there. So what I will do is I will just quickly share my screen. And Hiranmay, you must remember I am a professor, so therefore I tend to talk a lot, right? So when you want me to shut up, just tell me to shut up. Okay. Okay. So I was asked to talk about funding of startup. And by the way, this is the book which Hiranmay mentioned. And I'll just show you a live version of the book. So it's called Funding Your Startup and Other Nightmares. And what I'm sharing today is actually picked up from that book. So what I will do is I will share with you one story from the book, which is one of the startups I have been involved in. And from there, I would like to extract a framework for creating successful startups and for getting funding. Right. So I'll come to the framework later. First, I'll tell you a story from the book. So this story is about a startup called Squirrel, right? And you can see the squirrel in the picture. If you ever watch squirrels in action, they pick up food, right? But sometimes they eat that food, which is nuts and berries, and sometimes they save the food, because there would be days when, saving, when food is not available, for example, in the monsoons in India. Now, if you look at human beings, they also need to save, although it's not food, it's money, right? The problem with saving is that there are far too many temptations, right? So, for example, if there is a brand new bike that Royal Enfield launches, all youngsters would want to go and pick up that bike, right? So, saving goes out of the window. So, how do people save? And for that, I will just take you guys back to your grandmother's time. If you remember, in your grandmother's time, there used to be something called a gullak, and many families still use this. And as you can see, this has a little slot, right, in which you can put in coins. So how does it work? Typically, your grandmother goes and buys vegetables, sabzi, and let's say she gives a 10 rupee note and she has spent 9 rupees 80 paise. So the sabzi wala gives her 20 paise back, and that 20 paise in change goes into the gullak, right? So that is saved. So that's the way it works. And the reason why it works is that this is a painless process, right? It's painless. And why is it painless? Because if you spend 9 rupees 80 paise, spending 20 paise extra is not a problem, right? It doesn't hurt you. So it works. Now, what Squirrel decided was that they would automate this gullak. And the way they did this was they said, okay, we will create an app. So you have to download this app. And every time you spend money digitally, which means it could be UPI, it could be your wallet, it could be online banking, credit card, whatever, you get an SMS, right? Now, the app accesses all your SMSs. Of course, it's not interested in the personal ones. It's only interested in those SMSs where you're spending money. Now, it knows how much you spent. At the end of the week, it totals up your expenses and rounds it up to the nearest 100 rupees, right? So, for example, let's say you have spent in the week 1,460 rupees. It adds 40 rupees and rounds it up to 1,500. And that 40 rupees is then saved by the app, right? So that's the way Squirrel helps in saving. And by the way, the big advantage here over the physical gullak is that this is automated, right? You don't have to remember to save. It's happening automatically because you've given these instructions to Squirrel when you registered on the app. So now what's the next step? The problem is, nobody is going to pay Squirrel for helping them save, but they will pay them for other financial products. For example, for things like loans, for things like insurance, for things like investing in mutual funds, and so on. So what Squirrel did was getting savers onboarded was the entry strategy. And based on that, they said, okay, now we will offer them financial products for which we will charge. Okay, and that's how they make money. So that is Squirrel. And by the way, as of today, Squirrel has about 4 lakh users, of which about 2 lakhs are active, which is fairly large in this context. Now, let me just come to the framework which I spoke about. And the framework I call persistent, right? And persistent, as you can see, it's an acronym, which means each letter stands for something. And I'll take you through each letter one by one. And I'll take the example of Squirrel right through. So the first thing you need is you need to be able to solve a problem for somebody. Because if you don't solve a problem, nobody is going to come to you, right? And Squirrel clearly was solving a problem, the problem of saving and ultimately of getting loans, investing, buying insurance, and so on. So clearly they were solving a problem. Next is what I call earnings model, which means somewhere you have to make money. The fact that the customer is coming to you is not enough. He has to be willing to pay you. Here, clearly, they were not willing to pay for saving, but they were willing to pay for things like insurance and mutual funds and so on, right? So they had a good, solid earnings model. Third, size of the market. You know, when you create a startup, you don't want a startup which stagnates at 20, 30 lakhs. You want something which grows and grows dramatically, right, in size, and ultimately becomes maybe a crore, 5 crores, 10 crores, 20 crores, and so on. So the size of the market has to be large for the startup to successfully grow. And if you look at Squirrel, clearly they were aiming at the middle class, which is a huge market. It's 40 crores, right? So if you ignore China, this is probably the largest, I mean, larger than the population of any one country worldwide. It's a huge market, correct? So size of the market was not an issue. However, sometimes your market is very, very crowded with existing players, right? So for example, in this case, they are offering financial services. You have lots of players in this and lots of large guys, right? So you've got ET Money, you've got Paytm Money, you've got Zerodha, you've got Policy Bazaar, Paisa Bazaar, Bank Bazaar, all kinds of guys offering exactly the same things, right? So the problem is for a startup to operate in a market where there are already so many guys, and that too large guys, is very tough. So what do you need to do? You need to identify a large enough non-crowded subset of this market, and I call that subset a niche. Right? And if you look at Squirrel, they were very smart. What they said was, we will not target everybody. We will target youngsters. You know, people in college. So let's say 18 to 21 years old people, or even people in their first or at the most their second job. So typically people in the age group of 18 to 30. And you know, while middle-aged people, people in their 40s, 50s, they keep buying insurance, they take loans, they invest, they save. It is the youngsters who don't do all this. So that is a non-crowded niche within the crowded market space. And it was very, very successful. Next is what I call scalability, right? And incidentally, as you'll notice, each letter, if you look at each of these phrases, the first letter uh, adds up to the persistent framework, right? So P, E, S and N I have talked about, right? Now the question is, how scalable is Squirrel? You must remember, any startup which is purely digital is very highly scalable. For the simple reason that if you want to double revenues, you don't have to double manpower, you do not have to double buildings. All you have to do perhaps is to add maybe some small amount of manpower, spend on marketing, and probably increase the capacity of the server where you're hosted. As against this, manual businesses are normally very highly non-scalable, right? And why is scalability important? Scalability is important because, you know, you may be operating in a very large market, but how rapidly can you grow within that market? How rapidly can you scale up? If you don't, the other guy, your competitor, will scale up faster than you, eat into your market share, and potentially kill you. Right? So, which is why scalability is extremely important. And Squirrel, being a digital business, was highly scalable. Okay. Then we come to the R in the word persistent, which stands for risks. And obviously, every business has risks. The biggest risk, obviously, is the fact that your competitor may eat into your market share and kill you, right? And what you need really is an entry barrier. Entry barrier means what? Something in your business which prevents your competitor from entering your business. So it's a barrier to your competitor, preventing him from entering, right? And clearly, if you have some kind of innovative solution, right? For example, if you have patents, which I can see iHub has a lot of startups which where they have patents. That's a very, very solid entry barrier because patents legally cannot be copied. Okay. If you look at Squirrel, the entry barrier was not great. Over time, of course, the trust and the brand becomes fairly strong, but it is not very significant, which is why they have to scale up rapidly. So Squirrel has to have a scalable model, which fortunately they do. Right? And normally, entry barrier builds up over time. How much time do I have, Hiranbhai? About 1 hour more?
Sir, you can take over 10 minutes more.
Oh, wonderful. I'll finish within that. Okay, wonderful. This is the first time in history that a professor is finished before time. It's an Olympic record.
But the professor is an investor here.
Yeah, correct, correct. That is true. Okay. Now, the other very, very important issue is what I will call the team. So, what is the team? The team starts with the founder. And we say, as investors, as angel investors or VCs, we say, even if you have an average business model and you have a great founder, he will figure out a way to make it work, right? But on the other hand, if you have a great um, business model and an average founder, it will not work. Okay. So team starting with the founder becomes extremely critical. And the last thing, probably the most important, is what's the final proof? You may have a terrific business model, very highly innovative, several patents, huge market size, very scalable. But the ultimate proof is, boss, dhanda kahan hai? Are you actually getting business? Are you actually getting customers? Are they increasing month on month, quarter on quarter, which is what I call traction? And as you can see, Squirrel had very strong traction because even during COVID times, they had about 2 lakh active users, which actually is fairly large for a early stage startup. So this is the framework I talk about for a successful startup. I also want to mention the English meaning of the word startup, persistent, right? Because persistent means what? You've got to keep on and on and on at it. You can't give up. There will be lots of ups and downs, probably more downs than ups, but you have to make sure you just go on and on and on. Okay. And if I have time, I'll share 1 or 2 stories. So now coming to the theme of the workshop, I have told you what the founder should look at. The next question is, what do the investors look for? And when I say investors, it could be early stage investors, which is angels. It could be VCs. It could be anybody. Actually, if you think about it, investors look for exactly the same thing. Please remember, both the founders and the investors have exactly the same thing in mind. They want a successful, fast growing, rapidly scalable startup, which prevents competitors from getting in and hopefully at some stage gets you profits. The founder wants that, the investor wants exactly the same thing. So if you're looking at investors, if you're looking at investment, if you're looking at funding, please make sure that you evaluate your startup within the persistent framework, because that's exactly what investors want. And when you pitch to them, this is what they're looking for. Okay, so I finished my slides, but if I have 5 minutes more, maybe I'll tell you a quick story from one of my startups. Is that okay, Hiranbhai? Yeah, okay. Yeah. So I'll give you a quick little story, very interesting story, and that tells you what investors are looking for. There is a company that we were working with. It is called Iril Farms. Iril Farms. Basically, they are into organic farming, right? And there is a huge market for organic vegetables, organic fruit, because everybody wants to be healthier. So these guys realized that, so they were not growing vegetables, but they had tied up with farmers and they used to pick up their produce from there. And they realized that organic farms typically operate together. You can't have only one isolated organic farm. You'll have to have the entire region. So maybe the entire district with a lot of these organic farms. Otherwise, they can pollute each other with fertilizers, with chemical pesticides, and so on. So they realized that there was a large area near Shimla, between Solan and Shimla, which is in Himachal Pradesh, uh, where a lot of farmers used to grow organic stuff. So they set up a collection center there. They used to pick up stuff from there, bring it to Gurgaon where they were based, clean it, package it, and then supply it to retailers. And the market was willing to pay 30, 40, 50% higher for organic stuff. It was working very well. Then what happened? In March, you know what happened to the entire world? COVID hit them, right? So when COVID hit them, for 2 months, there was a lockdown. Interstate travel was finished, right? The entire supply chain from Himachal to Gurgaon completely took a hit. No trucks were moving. Okay, so their business was killed. Now, here is where you guys, as founders, have to figure out what you want to do. You can sit back and say, my God, mar gaya, kya karunga? I don't know how you would say it in Gujarati, but at least in Hindi, you would say mar gaya, right? I'll just sit back and watch Netflix, or I'll play, video games on my TV or my computer or whatever. But these guys, they said, no, we will fight. We will fight. We will survive. What they did was very interesting. They said during the lockdown, even local farmers were not able to reach the mandi, and the retailers were therefore not able to get their regular vegetables. I'm not talking of organic. I'm talking of regular vegetables which are grown with fertilizers and pesticides, right? So they said, okay, right now, what we will do is during the lockdown, we will pick up local vegetables, non-organic, from local Gurgaon based farmers and give them to retailers in Gurgaon, not under the Iril Farms brand, yeah, because that's fooling the customer. This we will just give unbranded, right? So the retailer finds that we have very reliable suppliers, because even during the lockdown we keep supplying, and we do not die. We continue because we are making a margin on these normal vegetables. And when the lockdown ended and supply chain started from Himachal, they were back to their regular supplies, which is their organic material. So just look at what these guys did. They were fighters. They didn't give up. They said we have to survive. In fact, they grew during this period, right? So what investors are looking for, and in fact, the COVID period has given investors actually a very good idea of who are the founders who are fighters and who are the founders who give up. So please remember, if you're going to investors to get funding, they will look at your COVID period. If you're a fighter, if you survive the COVID period, the chances of them investing in you suddenly go up, right? And we've seen that in many, many cases that we have invested in. So please remember, a crisis is always an opportunity, and people are looking at what you're going to do during that crisis. And I think with that, maybe I'll end. If you have questions, or maybe you have questions at the end, you're free to ask.